I forgot how much that stuff smells. Just fills the whole room with its odor. It was a good odor. It was beautiful perfume, but of course, everybody could smell it. Of course, they all looked to see what was going on and where did that smell come from. And there they saw me crying, sitting at Jesus' feet. And I heard people muttering about, that's expensive stuff. She should have sold that and given it to the poor. And somebody else said, don't they know she's a sinner? Oh, I just wanted to slink out of there, sneak away. But my dear, kind friend, loving friend, spoke up for me. He said, why are you giving this woman a hard time? She has just done something wonderfully significant. Wow. You'll have the poor with you always, Jesus said. But you won't have me. And she has anointed me for burial before I even die. And I want you to know, Jesus was talking a little bit sternly now, I want you to know that wherever my story is told in the whole world, people are going to remember her. Wow. That made me feel even more special. I was so filled with joy. Not just because that he had told everybody that it was okay what I was doing, but because here he said it again. Daughter, your sins are forgiven. He reminded me. Every time I'd start to forget, he'd remind me. And then he turned to Simon. Now Simon was still the pompous Pharisee, even though he'd been healed by Jesus. And Jesus knew that he needed a little push in the right direction. So quietly he just told Simon a story. And since I was sitting right beside Jesus, I got to hear the story too. And he told Simon about how there were two people who owed a whole bunch of money. One of them 10 times more than the other. And then he said, Simon, which one do you think will love the king who forgives them their big debt more? The one who owes the little debt or the one who owes the big debt? The king forgave both debts. Which one will love the king more? Simon said, well, the one that's forgiven more. And then Jesus just looked at him. You know, it's kind of smart. He just let him think. And Simon was so thankful that Jesus had not outed him to everybody else. I mean, this is the guy who stuck faith on Jesus, isn't it? Jesus knew that he's the one who started me on the path. But Jesus didn't say, what do you think you know? He just kindly and quietly told him a story. And Simon smiled and his face softened and he didn't glare at me anymore. And I don't know, but I think maybe he forgave me. I don't know what he forgave me for, but I had forgiven him long ago, so it was fine. And I was just so happy. But then the dreadful, horrible, awful events of the Passover weekend came. They arrested Jesus. They crucified him. They put him in a tomb. And we were all so afraid and scared and sad that we weren't with history. And we just kind of hid out. As soon as the Sabbath had passed and the other women and I gathered some spices, we tried to sleep. The next morning, we went out to the tomb to finish taking care of Jesus because, Friday afternoon we had to stop and so like that. I was just so sad. Now that I look back on it, I think, why? Of all said he was going to rise again. Not one of us. We just kept plodding along, being sad and discouraged and afraid that maybe we'd be the next ones killed. And so, Legs and I, we went out to the tomb, and when we got there, it was empty. Oh, this went from bad to worse, and I cried and cried and cried. And somebody said, Mary. And I looked up, and I couldn't see anything. My hair was in my face, and I was crying like crazy. And he said it again. Mary. It's Jesus! He's alive! What do you say? I couldn't say anything. I was so excited. So he talked to me and he told me, go tell the other disciples, I told you that I was going to rise again, and I have risen, and I am alive, so come on, let's get with the program here. I never ran so fast in my life. Took off as fast as I could back to where all his guys were, and I told them what I'd seen. Of course, at first they didn't believe me. Stupid old Mary, she's always just doing dumb stuff. Never mind. But finally, they got it. They went and checked the tomb. It was empty. They went and did this, and then pretty soon Jesus was appearing to them 1 by 1, 2 by 2, 5 by 10, whatever, however many people there were in the room, and he was appearing to them, and they said, he really is alive. Wow! Woo-hoo! Jesus is alive! He really was the Messiah. He's God. Wow. The next 40 days were such a blessing. Jesus was alive, and his words seemed to sink in better now that we sort of understood. You know how hindsight is 20/20. You look back and you go, oh, that's what he was talking about. And you look, oh, that's what he was talking about. And so